Right now, somewhere in the world, a dog is sitting at a door, waiting. Not because someone told it to wait, not because it's hungry, not because there's any logical reason to sit at a door for 6 hours and stare at it like something might come through. It's waiting because you left, and it hasn't stopped thinking about that since. Now here's the question that nobody actually wants to answer honestly, because the honest answer is uncomfortable. Either way, is that love? Or is it the most convincing illusion of love that evolution has ever produced, running on autopilot with nobody home? That question sounds philosophical, but it has a scientific answer. And the answer, depending on how you look at it, is either the most comforting thing you've ever heard about your pet, or the most disturbing thing you've ever heard about love itself.
Let's start with the evidence that's hard to dismiss. In 2015, a Japanese neuroscientist named Takafumi Kikusui brought dog owners into a lab and had them do something extremely simple. He had them sit with their dogs, play with them, look at them. Then he measured oxytocin in both the humans and the dogs. You need to understand what oxytocin is, because calling it the love hormone undersells it. Oxytocin is the neurochemical that releases between a mother and her newborn in the first seconds after birth. It's what surges between two people when they fall in love. It's what holds long-term relationships together when the excitement fades and what remains is something quieter and deeper. It is the chemical signal your brain uses when it decides something matters. And in Kikusui's experiment, when dogs held eye contact with their owners, their oxytocin levels went up, and the owner's oxytocin went up. And the longer they held each other's gaze, the higher both numbers climbed. He called it an oxytocin loop, a feedback cycle of mutual bonding, running on the exact same hardware that parents use with their children. But here's the part that stopped researchers cold. He ran the same test with wolves. Wolves that had been raised by humans since birth. Wolves that had grown up around people their entire lives, familiar with humans, comfortable with humans. The loop didn't activate. Not even close. So this isn't just familiarity. It's not just conditioning. Somewhere in the 15,000 to 40,000 years that dogs have lived alongside us, they evolved biologically, neurologically, a mechanism specifically designed to bond with humans. A mechanism that wolves, their closest living relatives, don't have. That's not a trick. That's not a trained behavior. That's evolution deciding over tens of thousands of generations that attaching to humans was worth building into the hardware.
But oxytocin alone doesn't settle this, because oxytocin doesn't prove love. It proves bonding. And bonding can be purely functional. Your immune system bonds with foreign proteins. Nobody's calling that emotional. So in 2012, a neuroscientist named Gregory Berns decided to try something that had never been done before. He trained dogs voluntarily, using positive reinforcement, to sit completely still inside an MRI machine, not sedated, not restrained, still, by choice, long enough to get a clean brain scan. What he was looking for was activity in the caudate nucleus. And if you don't know what the caudate nucleus is, you do know what it does. In humans, it's the region that activates in anticipation of things you love. A song that's been stuck in your head, seeing someone after a long time away, the smell of something from your childhood that hits before you can even identify it. It's not just reward. It's not just pleasure. It's the part of the brain that responds to meaning. When Berns exposed dogs to the scent of their owner, not a stranger, not a familiar human, specifically their owner, the caudate lit up. He wrote, "The dog's response to the owner's scent was not just a recognition of familiarity, it was an anticipation of them." Let that sit for a second. The dog wasn't reacting to you being there. Its brain was responding to evidence that you might be coming, like your name is running somewhere in the background all the time. And the smell of you is just confirmation that you're real.
Now here's where it gets genuinely hard to explain. Not emotionally hard, scientifically hard. There's a concept called qualia, the raw, subjective texture of experience. Not just that something happens neurologically, but what it feels like from the inside. The specific weight of missing someone, the particular quality of relief
when they come back. The thing that separates a brain processing information from a mind actually experiencing something. We can't measure qualia. We can't scan for it. We can't prove it exists in any being that can't describe it to us in language. The philosopher Thomas Nagel wrote a famous paper about this in 1974. What is it like to be a bat? His argument was simple and brutal. Bats navigate by echolocation. They experience the world as a landscape of reflected sound. And no matter how completely we studied bat neurology, we would never know what it actually feels like to be one. The inner experience is sealed off. Apply that to your dog, even with the oxytocin data, even with the MRI scans, even with everything pointing in one direction. We cannot get inside and feel what's there, if anything is. Some scientists say that's the end of the conversation, that without access to subjective experience, we're just projecting. But Gregory Berns pushed back on this hard. He pointed out that we don't have direct access to any other human's subjective experience either. We infer it. We assume it exists because the neural structures match ours. The behavior matches what we do when we feel, and the evidence accumulates until doubt becomes unreasonable.